Brr, brr, brr.
Oh, there it is. So
There it
streaming
is.
live.
Streaming live with the great Dr. Christina Greer. Surprise, everybody. I don't do a good job at promoting. I've got two great authors later on today, but I've got the massive guest that I've got now, Christina Greer, and I forget to tell people, but I'm very excited that you're here. I feel like we have to talk about autumn. Welcome. Hi.
Autumn in New York. It
A
always seems so
nor'easter.
inviting.
It's it's a nor'easter here in New York as we're speaking,
Oh,
but I'm
that
very
part.
happy that you're here in October. I usually get to talk to you about once a month here on the record, so this is it. We're very excited. How are you?
I love being here. Great. Eating this elephant one bite at a time.
I like that answer for how are you, but there's a lot to discuss with someone like you, an expert, an analyst like yourself. Obviously, we can talk about the New York mayoral race, which just to question how much does the nation pay attention to, or should the nation pay attention to New York City's mayoral race, for which you are an expert on?
Well, in the past, it gets some sort of national attention. I mean, we are the economic engine for the country. So, with Wall Street. So, who leads New York does matter. And this race has been quite interesting and peculiar, right? Where we've had the sitting mayor not running as a Democrat, and then the sitting mayor deciding not to run for reelection, and then the former governor who runs in a Democratic primary and loses terribly, right? And gets super spanked, and then comes back and runs in the general as an independent, even though he's, a Nepo baby Democratic governor and his daddy was a Democratic governor. And then you've got this 33-year-old Muslim Democratic socialist who has no citywide experience and a few years in Albany who is connected with New Yorkers of all different stripes in ways that we have not seen since maybe Barack Obama, but his message has been super tight, super clear, and it's resonating with people who make, I say this all the time, people who make $40,000 and people who make $400,000. Everyone's feeling the squeeze in New York about housing, about groceries, about transportation, about our future. And I thought that a lot of folks would, when things are crazy at the top of the country, meaning the federal government, if folks are like, oh, I just want the status quo, like I'm too afraid to sort of try anything new because things are so uncertain. But we've seen the opposite thus far in New York. I mean, he's not out of the woods yet. Our November 4th election will show us whether or not people really have gone, to progress, or if they're just going to go back with Andrew Cuomo, who they've known for many, many decades, who has, sort of some scandals, plural. But a lot of folks, at least during the primary and during the summer, were like, I want to take a chance. This guy is giving them hope in the political process for the first time. And so that's the Zohran Mamdani campaign that feels just very young and fresh and interesting.
What do you make of the national Democrats or Democrats running in other states that are running away from him when their critics try to connect them to Zohran Mamdani, whether it be the guy in my town, just north of New York City, Democrat running for town council, or somebody running for Senate in Kentucky, or Hakeem Jeffries, who is the minority leader in the House, and Chuck Schumer, who is the Senate minority leader, both New Yorkers. What do you make of that, the current kind of debate and discussion around being connected to this guy, Democratic socialist?
Yeah. Well, I think they're
And an
kind of three separate strains.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people get caught up on labels. So obviously, anytime you hear the word socialist or communist, it sort of shuts people down. And so this idea that he's a democratic socialist that people don't really know or understand, we kind of get wrapped up in semantics. I think, too, for some people, they're running away from it because they'd actually have to deliver. And it's something that their donors wouldn't necessarily want. We know that, sadly, the Venn diagram of Democratic and Republican donors overlaps, especially, at higher offices in very uncomfortable ways. I mean, things that he's talking about is sort of like a class conversation that Bernie Sanders sort of has, but Bernie Sanders has like no racial analysis. So he's not someone I care for at all. But Zohran Mamdani has been able to weave through like a historic racialized analysis with a class analysis. And then as far as like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, one, I don't think that both Democratic leaders should be from New York. I know New York is important, but I think that as a party, we need geographic diversity. Two, I think Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries have shown us time and time again that they're not leaders. They're great statesmen, but they're not leaders in a time of crisis. And so the fact that Zohran Mamdani is the Democratic nominee, big D Democratic nominee, and they can't find a way to articulate to the larger Democratic Party some of the issues that clearly Democrats care about. I mean, living in New York right now, Pete, is unsustainable. And I don't know how people with families are doing it. When you go to the grocery store and you spend $65 and you barely have one bag, right? And I'm not buying foie gras. Like I'm literally just trying to buy groceries. So those are the types of things that he's talking about. And it's like, so Hakeem Jeffries, don't get so caught up in leading the 200 some odd Democrats across the country where you forget about the people in Brooklyn who sent you there. So I think that a lot of the issues that Zohran Mamdani is talking about are of great importance to not just New Yorkers, but people across the country. And a lot of Democrats, quite honestly, don't want to confront a lot of those issues.
What do you make of
My
the
two
current government shutdown and we're headed into a third week here? Who is that? It feels like a lot of people don't even know what's happening, Chrissy. And if you're paying close attention to politics, I think the question you're asking is like, who's going to get the blame? But what do you make of the Democrats' strategy here? Who's going to get the blame and who's suffering as a result of the government shutdown?
Well, I think, Pete, in our circles, we don't have a lot of people who necessarily work for the government. So like we haven't felt it. But I know that there are a lot of communities that are struggling, right? I mean, churches and religious institutions are picking up the heavy lifting because people can't afford groceries. Or this is the sad thing is, you know, people stop going to doctor's appointments and buying pills and trying to figure things out on the cheap because they just can't afford it. And then this is where we get long-term health effects. Here's the thing. We've had 5 government shutdowns in like the past 20 years, and 3 of them have been under the great negotiator, Donald J. Trump, right? The Republicans control the presidency, they control the House, they control the Senate. This man is supposedly a master negotiator, yet and still we have a government shutdown. The government shutdown, the whole premise of it, and this is where the Democrats drive me insane because they can't ever articulate a message to the masses. The reason why the Democrats aren't coming to the table to negotiate is because Republicans are trying to take away their health care. So they're saying, listen, you don't have health care right now because the Democrats won't come to the table, and the Democrats are rightfully not coming to the table because they know when they come to the table, people lose their health care. That is the crux of the fight. So it's like, I don't know. I can't do your job for you. Explain to the American people the reason why we are going through this painful moment right now is because if not, you will be screwed for generations.
Yeah.
Because Republicans have been very clear that they want to take away your health care. And what we've seen in the work that I do, Pete, is that there are lots of people, white people, who want and need health care. And they believe in it. And they're Republicans. Where the rubber hits the road is when we start saying, okay, so then everybody can get health care. It's like, no, I don't want everybody to get health care. I want it, but I don't want these undeservings to get it. And by undeservings, we can go down the long list of people who Republicans have identified as undeserving. And there's nothing in the literature in the bill that says undocumenteds get it, first of all, even though they pay taxes. But there's nothing even in the bill that says undocumenteds get it. So
not only do they not get it, they are not even allowed to buy health insurance.
Right.
I'm old enough to have covered the Obamacare negotiations, and one of the stipulations Republicans put in is undocumented people would not be allowed to buy health insurance, which is crazy because conservative Republicans should absolutely want everybody, if they can afford it, to buy insurance so that you don't have to pay for them at the emergency room, which of course is not care. And now they're even questioning whether or not if an undocumented person that's working on a farm or in a chicken plant has their arm cut off, should that person get treatment at the ER, or should they and their stump be allowed to bleed out and die in the streets? That's, I think, the negotiation. But
these are the Christians we're dealing with.
Well, they don't, I think, understand that Jesus didn't create Christianity.
Well, I mean, what they don't understand could fill the Grand Canyon.
They don't know that.
But they want people to live in the shadows so then they can be abused. I mean, that's what happens when people live in the shadows.
Well, even if they don't, yeah, of course, even if they don't want that, getting back to the undeserveds and all of that, like, don't you think the reason why someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene is stepping up and other Republicans are going to be like, listen, not only is this affecting conservative Republicans who buy health insurance on the markets through Obamacare that are going to have their premiums skyrocket. But people with private policies through their employers are also going to have their premium. Like Republicans' constituents, quote, hardworking white folk that work at safe jobs are going to have their insurance go up. Like everybody's going to notice that. And it would seem like,
right. But the thing is, though, Pete, all Republicans have to say is the Democrats did this because they support colored people. And folks will believe it. I mean, like, we're in that level of that's all they have to say. Even though they control all the levers of power right now, and we know that when you're in the minority party, you have zero power. All they have to say is the Democrats did this to you because they want to give all these Latinos and Black people and et cetera, that you see walking around and you think that this country is getting way too Black and brown and these folks are getting way too uppity. This is why you now pay $75 at the doctor's office for your copay as opposed to $50.
Right.
Period. And folks eat it up. I mean, this is the LBJ quote that I'm always saying. It's like, if you can convince the poorest white man that you're better than the Negro, you can pick his pockets all day long. Hell, he'll even open his pockets for you. And it's like, all you have to do is just say, well, you don't have because they took it from you. And they can be whoever the boogeyman is of the moment. Du jour. Trans kids took it for you playing sports. Drag queens took it from you. Black people who were mayors of cities took it from you. Like the list goes on. And then you can just rob them blind. And that is what has happened. Jonathan Metzl had that great book, Dying of Whiteness. It's like, y'all are poor. You don't have any teeth in Appalachia, but you're voting against dental care. Like your kids are dying by suicide and getting shot up in school, Catholic school and public school, and on their way to school by their own classmates whose parents know they have mental health issues and keep buying them guns. Yet you fight for gun rights constantly, even though your kids are dying and not safe. I mean, like the list goes on and on.
I just talked to this journalist and historian author who's written this new book. The show posted today for anybody watching and listening, named Colin Woodward. And his new book is called Nations Apart. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on it if you ever read it or are familiar with it. But one of the things that he comes out with is in his research is that public health outcomes are better for even lower income folks in Democrat-run states than they are for higher income folks in red states. And if that statistic is true, it's like a statistic that we should really be probably talking a lot more about and campaigning on, because of the more robust public health systems, well-funded systems, accessible systems, a little higher quality, a little lower cost, still not affordable in blue states than in red states. It's wild if true. I think it's true.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also, let's just point of clarification. It's blue run states, but like all these states are red states. Like,
yeah,
it's just
appreciate you
blue
always.
cities and red states. Like it's states that happen to have blue leadership. But other than that, I mean, this is how we get 2 terms of Donald J. Trump. Like there's a lot of purple going on that we want to say is blue, but it's not the case.
I have my list of things to ask you next. Are you ready?
Okay.
I try.
Yeah.
Why are you acting like annoyed?
Because I saw something there and I'm about to send you a text.
Oh, you did? Really? On my list? Okay. So the other you mentioned blue cities. So on my list, I also don't include potential possible segues, and you just mentioned one, so I just insert them. Blue cities. So I want to ask you about Portland and Chicago and the reaction that folks in those cities are having, and the leadership of both the cities and states are having to Trump's invasion. What are your thoughts on how you're seeing people react in both those states or anywhere else to the kind of ICE invasion and everything else?
Yeah, well, as promised during his campaign, I mean, he said he was going to essentially attack American citizens if he felt necessary. And so we know that he thinks that Blacks and Latinos are criminals. That's it. And so it's not a surprise that the vast majority of the cities, I think all of the cities, have Democratic mayors that he's sort of sent ICE agents into. And Memphis is the only city that doesn't have a Democratic governor at the top of the state. But other than that, they're democratically led cities and Democratic states. And the vast majority have mayors of color, not surprising. And so there's just a level of like Donald Trump is always, he creates the problem and then sort of he's an arsonist. Like, he literally sets the fire, and then it's just like, "Oh my god, there's a fire. Let me help put it out," and, like,
Yeah.
hangs out while everything's burning. It's like, "But you started it." Like, so I think that, A, it's what he promised. Half of the people who support it don't even live in cities and don't even interact with undocumented people or immigrants. Um, and we know all of the data shows that undocumented communities are some of the safest communities ever. I mean, and what they're doing is just torturing people. I mean, they're ripping communities apart. They're giving people PTSD. There's some children that will never forget. You are creating
That's
core horrific memories for people. I mean, especially young people. All of us have core memories as children, right? Hopefully, for a lot of people and a lot of your listeners, my core memories by and large, I mean, I tell my parents this all the time. I was like, you guys aren't perfect people, but doggone it, my childhood was bar none. I would not trade it. I was like, I have some really core memories that are just fantastic. And it's not like I got a pony, but it's just like driving around in the car listening to Christopher Cross, like my first Christmas when I got this band tape that I really wanted in my stocking stuffer. Like, just, I know it's crazy, but like, we just, like my 6th birthday where everybody got stung by bees when I was the new girl at the school. Like, just all this stuff. It was crazy. We like didn't know we had bees and wasps nests. So everybody like went home and calamine lotion. So I have these core memories, but some of these kids, their core memories are going to be seeing your father ripped from your
yeah.
mother's arms and like disappeared, right? While your mother is screaming bloody murder and then hoping that she doesn't get taken away, or just someone not coming home one day. I mean, the level of cruelty and harm that they're doing to this country, to say nothing, I won't even talk about the economic pieces that are being ripped apart, but just the fabric of this nation that was tenuous at best. But to like try and return us to this like early 20th century of like whiteness equals smartness, which we know is not true. We know is not true. And that anyone who's not a white man is undeserving and less than intellectually and all the other things. Again, we know is not true. Present company excluded. But I'm just saying, like, this idea where you have just the most incompetent fools running things. And it's like, wow, you can't even see how you're not deserving, right? You're so busy projecting. I mean, every accusation is a confession with this administration. And so I do worry that, obviously ICE will come to New York City at some point in time, and we're one of the most diverse cities in the country and always have been. But I'm really hopeful that like our electeds and also New Yorkers, a lot of folks in Chicago are like, get out of here. What you're not about to do is put this person in the car. And we've seen sort of, a different type of protest, but I really pray that we can get out of this without real bloodshed.
Yes. Well, we've already seen some bloodshed. I mean,
Yeah,
we've
we
seen
have.
others shoot and kill
We've already,
people.
we've already seen innocent people killed. I
Yeah.
mean, for my birthday this year, I know this sounds so, corny, but I was with my friends in Lisbon who I love, spent a lot of time with them. And they were like, what do gave me the little sparkler in my donut for my birthday. And they were like, what do you wish for? And I was like, world peace. I know that sounds crazy, but like, I need everything to just calm down. I need people to sort of have some compassion and grace in their hearts. And this level of cruelty that these anonymous men in masks who are doing this like G.I. Joe cosplay and just getting off on the fact that they're like ruining people's lives is just, I mean, I study America. I'm not surprised by this. This is not new, but it's really hard to digest in a 21st century context when I did think, maybe very naively, that we were beyond kind of like the blatant cruelty that we're seeing.
Huh. I'm surprised to hear you say that you thought we were beyond the blatant cruelty. I could hear, I could imagine you saying, I never thought we were there, or wherever people
Oh no,
put.
like, listen, everyone's like, oh, I thought we were moved on. No, I didn't say that. But the type of cruelty that we're seeing. We know the underground and the sort of tacit and the sort of
Yeah.
implicit cruelty has been there and exists. And for a lot of communities, sure, but like literally men jumping out of a car and dragging a woman out of her car in the pickup line because they assume that she's undocumented. I didn't think we were there. We weren't there We weren't there last year. Like, we weren't there in the past 10 years. We weren't there in the past 20 years. Just like randomly kidnapping people in the middle of the street in broad daylight.
Is there anything that you particularly ascribe that cruelty to?
White supremacy.
Yeah. But there's always been white supremacy, but it feels like it's now has a lot more of a permission structure from
Emboldened white supremacy. It never went away. It's like they're the cicadas. They went underground.
that
It's
became
like, you know how Jill Stein's the election cicada? She pops up every 4 years. That's her cycle. Like, the white
that is
supremacists, they just
a really, really interesting analogy that white supremacy was just, underground cicadas. And then every how many years, several years, they pop up and they flood
yeah.
the world
And
and
they're like locusts, and they just come, and it's like, what are we supposed to do?
locusts. Yeah.
So, and the
Yeah.
thing is, sometimes with the locusts that were in Kenya, and sometimes the cicadas that are in the States, they don't come in the cycle that we assume that they're coming in, right? So it's like, oh, for global warming
Right.
and all this other stuff. So it's like, oh, they
Right.
must not be coming. And I think that there was, for a lot of Democrats and these pink hat people, they were just like, oh, Obama, like, the cicadas aren't coming. And it's like, no, the cicadas are absolutely coming. And then when they came the first time with Donald Trump, it's like, okay, so we won't see them again because he's gone and we have Joe Biden now. And then when he came sort of back, it's like, oh, well, it won't be real. And then he was like, no, follow me. For those of you who want to, I can make sure that we just push this country back. We don't
Yeah.
have to talk about Black Lives Matter. We don't have to talk about equity. Because guess what? When there's real competition, white men don't win.
Not only that, I mean, how dare you again with the attacking white men. It's not only that, it's the erasure of history, which we've been talking a lot about, and the promotion of these anti-discriminatory policies, not only in the public sector government, but as well as in the private sector. I am encouraged, but by the way, the locust being the analogy for white supremacy is great because I have a bias against creatures in the natural world that I find are ugly. I don't think I'm alone in that, but I find the locust very, very ugly. You're very connected to the natural world. I mean, the locust is a perfect, I feel like, representation of an ugly human.
Yeah, agree.
I'm just going to leave it awkward and silent for a while before I move on, which is, aren't you encouraged? I'm encouraged.
I'm always encouraged.
Huh?
What are you encouraged by? I said I'm always encouraged. What are you encouraged by?
I'm encouraged to see people in their local communities doing their best to protect those who are most vulnerable. It's not nearly enough, but we are inspired by those who did this kind of work in the past. I accept this is where we're at. This authoritarianism, I think, is my new best word because people don't understand fascism. I accept that this is where we're at. I think it's important to accept it so that we can then go and do whatever we need to do to protect vulnerable people and communities. And I'm seeing a lot of that. I'm also inspired by the type of nonviolent protests that we're seeing and the satire that is kind of coming along with it, from a naked bike ride in Portland yesterday, these inflatables that clearly are nonviolent. I'm inspired by all of that. What do you think of some of the reaction from some Americans in their cities and in their communities to looking out for others?
Absolutely. I agree. But I also agree with you that it's not enough. It's not enough people. And for far too long, a lot of people were like, I'm one of the good ones. But everyone in my family, they do the opposite of what I do. I'm cool. They're bad. And it's like, you should have been doing the work because now we're here again and again. So like, I'm so tired of that's like the people who come up to you after the meeting. It's like, hey, Pete, I totally agreed with what you said. But when you were in there going at it alone and I didn't speak up and totally didn't support you and just let you swing out there by yourself, that was that. But now that no one's around and it's after I get this shit all the time, but it's like now that no one's around, like, I totally agree with what you said. It's like, well, this isn't helpful to me. Actually, I like you less, right? Keep your mouth shut. Either come into battle or just don't say anything, because saying something after the fact just makes me have less respect for you. But I think that there are a lot of these voters where it's like, I voted the right way. Well, everyone in my family voted the wrong way, but I'm cool. And it's like, so you didn't want to do any of the work? You didn't want to explain to them the dangers afoot? Not just, maybe not for them, but for everybody else? Like, you didn't want to do any heavy lifting. You just wanted to come over here and pat yourself on the back in front of me. So, I had this t-shirt someone gave me a while ago. It was like, get woke, stay woke, woke others. which I think is like, that's the key part. There's like a lot of people who are like, I'm woke. It's like, and I've been woke, for 10 years or 20 years, and Obama and 3 terms and yada yada and hats and Hillary and all this other stuff. But like, I mean, you can tell I'm just so over it. But it's like, but you aren't doing the third step, which is to wake other people up.
Yeah.
Because if that's the case, that means you are a pink hat voting like a red hat. You might as well.
And also just add to that, keep trying to yourself be woke. Like there are things that are happening in our culture and our society that are changing that I, as a now old, am not always comfortable with. And so what I
You're not
try,
yet 50, though.
huh?
You're not yet 50. When's your
18
birthday
days.
again?
18 days. So nobody's
That's
counting.
right.
So
I
hold
am.
on.
Wait, when's your birthday again? Your
July 13th.
Halloween.
Your birthday is July 13th. So anyway,
Tell me telling people my government birthday. Oh, I have October 31st right here on my phone.
I have.
That's right.
Why don't you ask your assistant when my birthday is? So
I don't have an assistant.
I can't believe it. I know. I can't believe it's not on a post-it note. Anyway, I'm saying you should continue to try to be woke and be curious about the things that you don't like or might be uncomfortable with. I won't name mine, but they're there. All right.
Well,
I want to ask you about the attack coming from the Trump administration on its enemies list. Our Attorney General here in New York, Tish James, pretty well. She's the latest on the list that he's come after. Before that, it was James Comey. Both of them put out these videos, which I thought were very effective. Whether you like Comey or not, or Tish James or not, I thought their videos, they're just two camera. I'm fearless. I'm going to fight this. Inspiring kind of videos. But what do you make of those attacks, and specifically, obviously, Tish James very well and how she's reacted to and handled it?
Well, I mean, those two aren't the first, right? I mean, don't forget, he's come after Democratic mayors, he's come after Democratic governors, he's come after Lisa Cook from the Fed, allegedly for mortgage fraud. So that's like his new thing. Black women mortgage fraud, right? He's going after Fannie Lewis in Georgia. That's his thing. Because he's an autocrat and he wants to take down anyone he sees as potential enemies, and he's got enough folks around him who are letting him just try and bring up flimsy charges. Even respected Republican DOJ folks who were just like, the office isn't supposed to be partisan. I know you appointed me, but it's wrong. It's borderline illegal. And also, it's not in the confines of my job to just make up stuff in the court of law. So I think that Comey and James will be able to fight this, but it costs a lot of money, So hopefully there are people who will donate to her defense fund, because this is a time waste. Now, granted, she's got a very effective office. They run a very tight ship in her office. So, like, while she has to deal with this, I mean, she was very clear. I am still Attorney General. I will still do the duties that you all elected me to do. But it is so frustrating that you have not just a president who's into this, but so many people around him who are willing to aid and abet this type of behavior. The lucky thing is, sadly, as we have experienced people who were like, I can't work for just basically a wannabe dictator who just wants me to make up the law. Like, I respect the law too much. As those people leave, which is really frightening and sad, the only, I guess, slightly saving grace is that the people he puts in are so grossly incompetent that judges are like, what is this? This
Right.
isn't even like first week paralegal writing. Like, why are you here? So that to me gives me a little bit of hope, even though we shouldn't even have to be here. But it's not like he's got tight cases and, effective people. So to say that there isn't a racial and gendered context to these attacks on Karen Bass and, Fannie Willis and Lisa Cook. I mean, he's obsessed with Lisa Cook. I was like, so all the people in the Fed, just her, just the one black lady. You have to have her gone. You're going to go all the way to the Supreme Court just to kick her off, because you have told universities, you told law firms, you told all these other entities, I want all the women gone. I want all the people of color gone. And I definitely want all the women of color gone. Toot sweet. So
Unless they support the kind of historical patriarchy this country has led with and the historical racism. So the sexism and the racism, and that's why I wanted to ask you about your good friend Winsome Earl Sears. She is a Black woman running for governor in Virginia. She's currently the lieutenant governor, and she would seem to be one of those people in the category that is going to uphold those
Uphold it. Listen, as my grandfather would say, she's a lost ball in high weeds. Descriptive and substantive representation are real. So yes, she is a Black woman, but like, let's be clear. The same way women can be the keepers of patriarchy, white women for generations, right? Yeah. The same way that you can have, non-white people uphold white supremacy. We see it all the time. Kash Patel, Vivek Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, like Usha Vance. I mean, you can have non-white people uphold white supremacy. And so this is her ticket. Now, I talk to my colleagues all the time. We all say, listen, if I decided to run as a Republican, let's just say I was like, I want to run for office, and I decided to run as a Republican. Do you realize I could probably be governor in like 20 minutes? I'd probably be like the star of the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Because all you need is Black people to say crazy stuff about Black people and co-sign the fiction that, it's Black on Black crime and lack of fathers and all the sort of tropes that they trot out there with flimsy data that does not exist or hold up the second they're challenged. But all you have to do is just go with the like tired old Republican talking points that make conservatives and white supremacists feel really comfortable. And I'd probably be vice president. Like, not kidding. Now, would I be scared to death to meet my ancestors? Yes. Like, I can't do anything for money. Like, that's ridiculous. But some people
find it hard to imagine that you could, or that the people who do that, like somehow flip, they're entirely like grifters, or that that there usually isn't some kind of catalyst for what they believe, like a Candace Owens or that Black woman on Fox News. Like, I think she's, what's her name? I would like to call her out by her name. I'm forgetting her name, but I think she's a kind of, she knows better.
I think it's two categories. I think they're the people who are flip-floppers and they're doing it for money and they don't believe it, and the cameras go off and they're like, okay, well, whatever. And then I think that there are some people who are true believers. That's, like, white supremacy is real. Like, you don't have to be white to subscribe to it. So like, there are some Black people who are just like, yes, like if Black people could only do this, then maybe we'd be as good as whites. And it's like, because you think that you're inferior. Wow. Okay. So I think that some people are true believers, but I think that a lot of people are just like, let's make this money. I don't care. I can say it.
Yeah.
Like,
her name is Harris Faulkner. By the way, my new podcast, As Good as the Whites, is going to be premiering in just a couple of weeks. So I'm looking forward.
What does that mean? What does as good as the whites mean?
I don't know. You just said if we can be as good as the whites, and it made me laugh.
I mean, this world is cuckoo bananas. I'm just, I'm trying to find happiness where I can, because everyone's crazy.
Speaking of finding happiness where you can, what do you want to leave us on? Where are you finding happiness where you can?
Nature, of course, nature, even if it's rainy. So two things have happened. So lately, like, birds have just been coming to me like I'm Snow White. I don't know what's happening. But on my bestie's birthday, I think her mom came to visit me in the form of a cardinal, but it was a female cardinal who sat on my little terrace area for 5 minutes and ate while I was just like at the window, like, Miss Linda, is that you? And then Morning Dove did the same thing last week for another friend of mine who had just lost his mom. So I just feel like I haven't had time to go hug trees at the Botanic Garden lately. But I'm just still trying to, like, autumn in New York is just so beautiful. And, last week was so gorgeous and hot, and the leaves were changing, and I collected some leaves when I went to Annapolis, and I
love that. I love that you feel like your friends' mothers came back and visited you in their new bird life body.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Well, cardinals they're always a loved one. Look at this leaf. Isn't that amazing?
Did you do something to it to make it be?
No.
Put it in a book, though?
No.
Why is it just like that and shiny?
I don't know. I don't know if it's like one of the. I don't know what kind of leaf it is.
I think you did.
And no, I have not touched it. This is another one, the little one.
Oh, wonderful!
I haven't touched them at all.
Are you going to?
They were so beautiful.
You do this thoughtful. You make cards out of leaves, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
This one, oh, I just lost a little bit of a corner of it.
You know, you could make a card for a friend's birthday that's coming up.
I just might. He might even get my special Annapolis leaves.
Oh,
I don't know. We'll see.
wow.
Let's see.
The other day, I'll let you go, but the other day I saw a lady bird watching, and she had a long lens, and so I gave her all the credit that someone with a long lens bird watching deserves. But then there was this large bird circling, and I said, "What is that?" And she said, "It's an osprey," and it wasn't.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. But I didn't have the courage to correct the lady with the camera. I was like, "That's not an osprey, though."
Oh, I say osprey. I don't know. I mean, hey, listen. Sometimes it's the journey, not the destination.
Her pronunciation rather than the species.
She's like, "That's a blue jay." It's like, "Sir, ma'am, it's a goose. It's a Canada goose, but sure." But the thing is, it's like, hey, she's out there with her long lens. Just let her misidentify if she wants to. I thought that was a warbler.
You're the best. Thank you for joining me today. As always, I wish you all the best in all the things that you're doing. I know that there's a thing that you're doing that you just did that you're I think it'll happen. I don't know if you want to.
Thank you. Keep me in your thoughts.
All right. You. Say bye to everybody that's watching live, and thank you everybody for watching live. I'm going to hit end stream, and I'll be back with Dr. Peter Hotez and Dr. Michael Mann today at 1 p.m. right here.